Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey, look who I found.
Hello.
Thomas Sokolowski.
Good to be here.
He was threatening not to be with us, but here he is.
I never threaten you.
You said you'd be here unless you died in your sleep. That's the email I got.
That's what I said.
All right. I still consider that a threat.
Oh. No, God willing.
God willing, and the creeks don't rise.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Oh, hi, everybody. We've made it to Thursday. We are still both here and kicking, and an awful lot of news to talk about. I don't even know where to start.
Oh, just start at the beginning.
All right. Well, then I'm starting with the damn Supreme Court.
Oh, yes, right.
That news came down during the show yesterday.
Oh, okay.
This court is beyond belief. Are you aware of what they did?
Yes,
they further turned over our entire political system to
the Koch brothers,
to the oligarchs. Right? It's just beyond belief.
What was it? I mean, I just saw the headline. I didn't even the
well, I mean, not
logic?
To go into the detail, but not. Oh, the logic. Here,
yes.
Let me give you the Chief Justice's own words. Money.
Who did they say? Who wrote the?
He did, I believe.
He. Roberts.
Roberts.
Okay.
Yeah. Here are his words.
Please.
Money in politics may at times seem repugnant to some. Yeah. Where is some? But there's a but coming, right?
Yes, right.
But so too does much of what the First Amendment vigorously protects. If the First Amendment protects flag burning, funeral spectacles, protests, and Nazi parades, despite the profound offense such spectacles cause, it surely protects political campaign speech, despite popular opposition. That is the Chief Justice's words. He used the word political campaign speech as synonymous with political campaign
donation
money. He equates speech with money. And here's what I would say to...
That's a stretch.
Here's what I would say to the Chief Justice. Okay, if money is in fact speech, then wouldn't the people with the most money be able to drown out the voices of people who do not?
Right. Well,
and how does that get us
well,
to...
and the other thing is I wonder if they comment about this, is it's one thing to know that the Koch brothers can now give more money, but it's quite another when either they or others are giving it clandestinely. Because at least if you know someone has put the bacon on the barrel, you can say, oh, there's Lynn Cullen's bacon. But if you're doing it clandestinely, that's where the shit hits the fan. Because one doesn't know where the influence is coming from, because one doesn't know where the money's coming from.
Well, the other thing, it's odd. I was talking to my mother about it last night, and she said, I know he can't be a stupid man, Chief Justice Roberts. I said, no, quite. He's apparently brilliant. And she said, and your brother said he was a very nice man, because he visited my brother's class. And I said, and I'm sure he is a very nice man. But somewhere he's got some screw that went the wrong way, if you ask me. And he does not see the consequence of what it is.
Now, did
it's
they
just
say,
beyond
what
me.
was the vote? Was it a
5-4, 5-4, 5-4. It's how did Gail Collins put it neatly, acerbically, and neatly? The bottom line was that the Founding Fathers apparently intended America to be a country in which every citizen had the inalienable right to donate, say, $3.6 million every 2 years. I mean, to say that this is the freedom of speech,
right. Payola
to put
rules.
this on the freedom of speech,
yeah, right.
This is, and then to say, well, if that First Amendment allows flag burning and Reverend Phelps's crowd to do their noxious thing and allows Nazis to parade through Jewish neighborhoods, how is this Well, I'll tell you how it's different. One, all those things that he talked about, the Nazis, the funerals, those are awful to a lot of people. They are offensive to a lot of people. But they do no real harm to the very institution of this
and also
country.
Most of those are the hoi polloi. It's like 100 Nazis. It's not one nasty Nazi with $1 million check.
Exactly right. I mean, it is. Of course, it's hoi polloi. So they don't. That equation is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It is mind-boggling. Justice Breyer.
I think the hottest new job now is not going to be computer programming. It's going to be lobbying. Everyone's going to want to be a lobbyist because they're going to have an open purse to just go and say, hey, Mr. Legislator, how about
this has to do with going to specific. It's unbelievable, and his sense of he's not willing to acknowledge that this is corrupting. That if you gave all this money to a politician, he says, well, it might give. I understand that it could give them access and maybe appreciation.
I love that. Appreciate it.
He said, but there is, unless there's a quid pro quo. In other words, unless the only thing he's willing to see as corrupting is if the Koch brothers put the 100,000 directly into the guy's hands and said, and this is what bill gets through your committee.
Exactly.
No. I mean, so that's the only thing that Roberts is willing to acknowledge. Breyer and the other side said, if Citizens United, which was their first evisceration of campaign reform, if Citizens United opened a door, today's decision will open a floodgate.
Yeah.
It overturns key precedent. So much for activist judges. Here are the activist judges. They're the ones who say they don't like activist judges. Overturns key precedent, creates serious loopholes in the law, and undermines, perhaps devastates, what remains of campaign finance reform. Where enough money calls the tune, the general public will not be heard, and a cynical public will lose interest in political participation altogether. So this will have the effect of, I see it in my son. It's corrupt. They're all corrupt. Why should I vote? It doesn't even,
doesn't matter.
This total, and that's what this does.
Now, do they mention anything about transparency in all of this?
I'm not,
because
at
least the Nazis, they go out there and they put themselves in the position to have someone throw a rock at them.
No, I believe if you do give specific money to a specific candidate or campaign as an individual, yes, your name will be out there. What this allows is for a rich person to give the maximum to absolutely every candidate.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, and spilling millions in the process. So it's more about an aggregate. So yes, names will be mentioned. Although I saw someone who's obviously read the whole thing say, no, with this stuff, there's always a way around, and what you will do is you will see these candidates.
What on earth is that?
It's on off.
It's on off.
Yes.
Well, that's one hell of a. Bzz. That's one hell of a.
That's my pacemaker.
My God, Tom.
Ooh, call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
John Roberts in his confirmation hearing says that the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice is just an umpire.
Yeah, that's right.
To call balls and strikes.
I remember.
Yes, well, with these decisions are making, he's just not calling balls and strikes. He's radically redefining the strike zone.
Exactly right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly right. Well put. And
Well, one other point. Are you familiar with the program This American Life?
yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. People should go to the archives and go to 3/30/2012 show. They made a show called "Take This Money and Run for Office."
Okay, you're saying
And that was
okay.
that was every American should hear that program.
I bet. So the archive is This American Life.
And it's in 2012, and the date is 3/30/2012.
March 30th, 2012, This American Life show. Find
Take
it.
this money and run for office.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All
Thank
right.
you very
Okay, thank
much.
you.
Great
Bye-bye.
call. By the way, This American Life has lost it does not have, it's gone
It's funding.
public radio. I forget which, PRI is the one who's been putting it out.
Chicago, yeah.
I'm not sure, but they don't have a deal, and
dear.
so keep your eyes open for where This American Life
It's so
is going to
fabulous.
go. It won't go away, but they might be self-distributing, so it could end up just internet. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so wonderful.
Everything. It's a probably the best thing on radio.
Oh, yeah. It's
Without
interesting.
it.
I was thinking, coming from Chicago, that it's very much that Chicago tradition of Studs
Turkle. Yeah, I know exactly.
These schlubs, everyday people, and get out of them the most interesting,
Right.
poignant stories,
Right.
telling stories. It's
Right.
It's a great show.
I agree. Here's what, Frank Wertheimer said something wonderful about this. The Supreme Court is simply turning our representative system of government into a sandbox for millionaires and billionaires. You know who else is just appalled is John McCain. Because if you'll recall, he was one of the ways he made himself persona non grata and got the Maverick label in his party was he was so against this pollution of money.
Right.
And he, along with very liberal Russ Feingold of Wisconsin, put through their particular voter reform. Election reform, which of course has not even done a thing. And if the Roberts camp can get their hands on that, they will they'll eviscerate that as well. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Well, it's sort of might makes right when might is about money.
I really am stunned, though.
It is, yeah. I know.
We were talking yesterday. Do you still have my quotes,
I do.
Jess? Because we were talking about two things, and two quotes came that I mentioned yesterday really fit this. The one, that the most important thing to learn in life is to get comfortable with ambiguity. And here's where I'm wanting to absolutely detest John Roberts. But the thing is, he is obviously a very complicated man. He's not evil, but somehow everything is. You can't put people in these little boxes, but my God.
Well, the thing is, when you look at these people who are, say, are very smart, and they look back at the Constitution, you have to remember, just like that, all the original signers of the Declaration of Independence were Christian. All were,
They weren't.
Well, or most of them were. Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's one of the issues. Yes, those people were very smart, But they were looking at the world from a very specific perspective in the late 18th century.
And they were people of wealth,
And
generally.
they were people of wealth.
Generally, and often
Exactly.
slave owners. I mean, these were...
Exactly.
Right. And I'm sure...
So, in that sense, I think there has to be a corrective when you look at those things, in light of the late 19th century.
Yeah, tell that to Scalia and Thomas and all the others who think you have to go back to the... they probably think the Bible's literal, too. I mean, it's just like,
because
we
those
got to take
people,
these
even if
things
they were
literally.
smart, they were, like I say, Jefferson was an extraordinarily smart person, but he kept slaves.
I
and
don't think he was a nice
beat
man.
them. Yeah, no, he was nasty. They could have used him in 12 Years a Slave.
And I heard this great thing about Andrew Jackson the other day.
Oh, right,
How someone was saying, there is no way that guy should be on our $20 bill. The 20 is the bill most in circulation. So you see Jackson's face constantly. There's Jackson. And Jackson was responsible for one of the most horrific ethnic cleansings.
Yeah.
Absolute ethnic cleansing of Native Americans. Unbelievable.
Well, on that, what's very interesting, I think it's played here at university theater programs, if not legitimate theater. But I remember seeing on Broadway a couple of years ago this play that won all sorts of awards called Bloody, Bloody Andrew Jackson, which was sort of a rock opera about Andrew Jackson. And it was very telling because, this was drama. But they made him in this sexy, hip guy, etc., but then who turns, and it was very hard to sort of separate, at least.
Well, here again, the complexity of a human being, right? And the other quote from yesterday that made this ring so true with this latest abomination from the Roberts Supreme Court is this from William Crystal, who the neoconservative pundit. You will not believe this one. Okay. There is too much concern and attention for, quote, the people. After all, we conservatives are on the side of the lords and barons. We are pulling up the drawbridge against the peasants. You believe he said that? Right out, flat, out in the open. And there it is. They're going to hand our government over to
what is the fucking thing, pardon my language? We the people, in order to...
What is all this about the people? We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. You SOBs. Excuse me.
No, it's really
amazing.
It's frightening. Well, the bar at the Duquesne Club's going to do very well.
Oh, yeah, amen. Set them up, all right.
I've done that a few times myself with lobbying with someone for money.
And speaking of the lobbyists having a heyday and the rich having a heyday, this is a riot because none of us really even knew this was true. But there was a headline in the PG about 2 weeks ago that said something about... I can't remember the damn headline now, but it was essentially that cash gifts to state legislators are legal in Pennsylvania. Who ever heard such a thing? And I thought, well, you mean all this time I could have slipped my rep or my senator
$100?
Yeah. And no crime would have occurred. Yes, that is true. So there was such a hullabaloo about it that, in fact, the House in Harrisburg yesterday actually passed a ban on taking cash.
But a check's fine.
Plastic, it's okay, but, cash.
They'll all have one of those zip things on their belts.
Oh, yes, and in fact, they're going to go back and maybe do... little the prepaid cards and things like that, and gift cards.
I've just given you a $15,000 Starbucks card.
Exactly. Caller, hello.
Hi, guys. You just have to be a little bit, see the ironic side of Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill and it being our most used bill. I think it's appropriate. I think it's the perfect place for him to be.
Well, most people don't get irony. Why is it?
Most people don't get the don't get history either.
Well,
but,
that's true.
that's,
So between the I mean, I don't know. I'm sick of seeing him in his damn white pompadour. I really am.
the only president to serve office with a bullet still lodged in him.
Yeah.
He's a real American.
Yeah, he was.
Hey, the PCN, the Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania Cable Channel does that Writers Roundtable, and they had a discussion about that, about the Pennsylvania lawmakers jumping all over and not being able to take cash. It's remarkable how much they're allowed to get. They're allowed to get, and that doesn't include like football tickets and stuff. Also, that's a whole other category which they're allowed.
Oh no, and they're still allowed.
I forget that has a whole other name.
That's right, and they're still allowed to take money from friends. Now we know that friends can have a very, although they did specifically say that no lobbyist can be a friend.
Oh, what's that?
No registered.
There's another
and
thing,
as far as pulling up the drawbridges, they've been doing it for years, and they you know, the conservatives won't be happy until this country looks.
Well,
like
it will give a new meaning
That's
to
right.
that term, friends with benefits.
Yes, friends with benefits. Thank you.
See you guys.
Appreciate. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. Oh gosh. Yes, registered lobbyists may not be considered friends. Oh, dear God.
Well, you know, it's going to be very interesting. This will then probably negate, unless it's a loophole of all of this, the creation of, what was this now, going back at least 5 years, maybe more, of PACs. Because it was a way of getting a big chunk of money without, you know, exceeding that, what was it, $2,600 or whatever it was?
Something like
now
that. Now
people just, you know, with impunity will be writing checks or however, big envelope. It's going to be like the mafia, sticking a big envelope full of 20s in someone's breast pocket. Horrible.
Republicans, they are literally bent on destruction of this great experiment, the United States of America. May they rot. We'll take a break.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
BurgBargains.com is your best bet for great deals in the Burg. Log on today for exclusive bargains from your favorite events and shows like Pyrofest, City Theater, and the Symphony, plus discounts on gift cards to P.F. Chang's. BurgBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BurgBargains.com.
Yeah, salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, double ball Thursday, water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday, let's move Monday, sparkles next Sunday. 60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov. A message from USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay, two quick little asides, neither of which Tom cares about. One,
How dare you presume?
the third egg hatched. There are 3 eaglets in the nest, at least last I looked.
Doo-dah.
And here's the good news.
What? That damn parents are just letting that third run.
The second and third one really
Wither.
got a fight to live. The third one got help.
But he'll be president one day.
Maybe so. Maybe he'll be on the $20 bill.
Yeah, right,
Illegal.
exactly.
So the good news is that the ornithologist from the National Aviary will be my guest on Monday.
Oh, nice.
Bob Mulvihill, and he's the go-to guy for
Boyd's.
Boyd's, all things Boyd's, and especially these particular these guys.
Now, question. I mean, since you're an amateur ornithologist, so when they do the 6 months or whatever it is, when they're still feeding the eaglets, once they kick them out of the nest and they can fly, they're on their own?
Yeah, because if they weren't, we'd be seeing their fledgling from last year. They did get one last year, and I don't know if he's around. They're expected to be out of the nest by July 4th.
I see.
And the parents will be out of the nest by everyone's going to just go, I guess. I don't know where they go. And I don't know if they come back. All these questions, there's so many questions, but we are going to pepper.
But they do come
Mr.
back to the
Mulvihill.
same area because didn't they?
Yes, they had a nest here, but the
ago.
nest, dropped or is gone or disintegrated or the tree fell or
Who wants an
something.
old nest?
Yeah, I mean, they really use those nests. You got to figure, there's fish guts and squirrel guts and all this stuff sort of stuck in there, and the flies. You can see.
They need
you can
a
see
savior.
you can see it attracts flies because the birds are like snapping at them all the time. Okay, and the other little aside is the Pittsburgh Pirates are batting 1,000. I mean, they're
3 games.
2.
Only 2? And they're batting
2-0.
But I thought they started on Monday.
But they didn't play on
Tuesday.
Tuesday. No, they didn't play.
I see.
So they've had 2 games under their belts. One at 12:30 today, which might get in some rain trouble. But last night's game, man, Jess, you did stay up.
I did.
You're out of your mind. I keep telling you don't get enough sleep. What time did it end?
Like 1:30.
1:30. 16 innings. I turned it off. I thought, whatever happens will happen, so you'll find out in the morning. And I did. They won it in the 16th. A 6-hour game. And they say in the paper it is the longest baseball game ever played in Pittsburgh, which I find surprising because...
Well, that's a lot. I mean,
that's a ton of innings, but plenty of
innings.
games have gone beyond 16, and I'm a little surprised
But not
with all
in
the
Pittsburgh,
baseball.
maybe.
Well, I guess not with all the, and also what slowed the game down was they now have instant you can argue an umpire's call.
Oh, right.
And so then they go, and there was one call where it went on for over 5 minutes with
I
them
see.
trying to figure out whether, and I'm thinking, oh, God, no, baseball's slow enough. We do not need
right,
this.
exactly.
I don't think I'm going to like this. Instant replay.
And during
Anyway,
all that time, someone's playing the organ, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball." Oh, it's only a record now, isn't it? They don't have an organ anymore.
Well,
no
the
one plays
organist
there.
died, and when the organist died, they just took his old rendition
I
and
see.
stuck it on, and it drives me crazy, the rendition they play there. It is so slow you could die. Take me out to... And then at the end, the crowd is always a good 2 measures ahead of the
I
damn the late Vince Lascheid's organ playing. It's just awful, but it's part of the experience, Tom. Okay. I asked you once to go to a game.
I just gave you a
and I
withering
know. I
stare.
will never ask again, and I understand that. Okay. Okay, I have 2 things more intellectual and right up your alley.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Mm-hmm. The National, what are we calling this actually? National September 11th Memorial Museum.
Oh, just opened, didn't it? Like a week ago or
It
yesterday?
opens next month.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's building up to the
Okay.
opening. This is the museum which will...
Oh, I think it opened to families and
Oh, okay.
first
So it's going to be at
attenders or whatever they're
this is the
called.
museum at the World Trade Center,
Right.
obviously, to mark that horror. And it says here that when you walk in, you find this huge, stark wall, on the other side of which is a repository that contains about 8,000 unidentified human remains. Okay?
And that was very controversial, I remember.
Perhaps, but I think
Because
very
some
powerful.
people- oh, I thought so too.
Very powerful.
But, it's just sort of, here's...
It's like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
yeah,
How is
exactly.
that? Yeah.
Well, some people felt, it diminishes.
disrespectful,
But
or
if you
maybe-
can never find...
If you don't know whose finger that is,
yeah.
right?
I mean,
Exactly. So and then on that stark wall that you encounter is an inscription, and the inscription, the letters, each letter is 15 inches tall, and the letters are made.
I think 15 inches
There we go.
is a meter. But anyway.
Is that it?
No.
What do you mean?
No.
12.
No. That's like 12.
No.
Yes.
Well, anyway. Who's got a ruler?
That looks right.
That's right.
Your hand's
15.
been moving. Anyway. Go.
Well,
I'm glad you don't teach math.
each letter is that big.
Yes, right.
And the letters are made from the steel of the trade.
The melted
of the,
bits and pieces.
of the towers. So that's right there, that's very powerful,
Yeah.
right?
What is the quote?
And then there's a quote from Virgil.
That's right.
And it says this, and here's what those words say. No day shall erase you from the memory of time.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful? There's a problem.
Yeah, I remember someone didn't like that too.
There's a problem.
Virgil, who can be against Virgil?
Well, there's a little problem.
Yeah.
It sounds wonderful to us because we are not apparently that up on the Aeneid, where it comes from.
Yeah.
Okay? And if you look at where that quote comes from the Aeneid, it's in Book 9.
Mm-hmm.
And who is the you? Because the inscription is you will not, what is it? No day shall erase you from the memory of time.
Okay.
So if you look at the quote in context, the you are these two Trojan warriors named, whether you want the names or not, I don't know, Nisus and Euryalus. And their deaths, they are dead, but they're dead for a reason. They're dead because they slaughtered just a huge number of people in an orgy of violence. And they ambushed these people while they were asleep. Okay? And for that, revenge was taken, and these two were killed, and their heads impaled on spears for all to see. So if that's the you are these two killers.
Well,
Classicists say if you know that, it almost sounds like what they're doing is memorializing the people who caused the carnage.
Well, number one, quotes can be recontextualized, number one. And number two, all Virgil is saying is the sense of you won't be forgotten.
This horror will never be forgotten. Right.
And it's not necessarily saying you're wonderful this or you're horrible, what have you. He's just saying, this was so monumental that it won't be forgotten. And in a sense, you meaning, I think you can read it in two ways. Number one, you meaning all the dead who are
well, that's
nameless.
how yes.
But also, it's like the terrorists, they won't be forgotten either. How many
None of
people,
us.
Of a certain age will always put, as people of a certain age remember Hitler, people will remember Osama bin Laden. So I think it's a kind of still a very
But it's not a memorial to them. But it is a memorial that exists because of their action. But we're saying to the innocents that died, you will not be, who were essentially slaughtered in their sleep.
Right.
You will not be. But so if you know, here's where a little education is a dangerous thing. So if you know that quote in its context, you're thinking, huh? Right? But how many people know?
Right.
Next to none.
And sometimes quotes can take on
a new meaning,
totally new meaning. Like, for example, this is a very different ontological level, but, Warhol's, in the future everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. That was not his quote. He stole it from a much longer text by the...
McLuhan?
Marshall McLuhan.
I thought it seemed like McLuhan.
Yeah, from his media. Media is the...
Media is the massage.
don't tell us about your secret desires. Meat is the message. But anyway, but he took it, and I mean, it means the same thing for both of them on that level.
Yeah.
But he was able, excuse me, to excise it and give it new meaning.
Oh my God!
Goodness.
Are you okay?
No, I'm
It's called a sneeze.
It's a sneeze.
5 of them, though.
3.
3.
Oh.
See, that's why eyewitness accounts.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Sneeze 5
3.
times.
We all heard 3,
She
right?
flunked arithmetic.
Yeah, right.
I did.
But I mean, I think,
Jeez.
you know, I don't know. I think for people standing in front of it.
Well, here, I'll just give you 2 more quotes from the classicists, the guys who know the quote. And a lot of them are saying, this is just not right, not right. And here's what one says. He said, look, for a private individual to use a quotation and shrug at its source is one thing. But in a public institutional context that memorializes an event of national importance, not knowing one's source seems irresponsible. He's saying in something this big, we shouldn't be torturing it like this. We shouldn't. Okay, and that's a good point. You could argue that
Yeah,
one.
fair enough, yeah.
And then another classicist comes back and says this. I can see that this might do the job, meaning that quote really resonates. And it's perhaps a little arrogant to think that the proper perspective from which to assess it is my own, namely that of an academic.
Right.
We don't own Virgil, much as we might think we should. So he's saying, if the hoi polloi, the unlearned, want to see that sentence, see that quote, and it touches them and moves them in a way that, then let it be, and let all the tight-ass classical scholars,
That's who the classicists were.
Okay. By the way, I got that from today's New York Times. Also in today's New York Times, just a heads up, on the front page of the business section, it's the big story on their front page. It is, I don't know if I have the, I didn't even bring the, no, I didn't. Why do I do that? They don't even bring it.
You need a clipping agency, darling.
Anyway, it's a whole story about UPMC and the union here, the attempt to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it quotes all our pals.
Those aren't my pals.
No, it quotes everybody. Of course, not Jeffrey Romoff, who's never heard from, but yeah. So what is it? It's a union's. That's it. Those pictures are a union's wage war. That's today's New York Times. And there's a quote from my rabbi, who got arrested trying to see Romoff. And Rabbi Simon says, UPMC is a world-class medical facility. We're asking them to strive to be world-class in their labor relations. We know that you can't raise a family on these wages. And then they go into, what those wages are, and they do show that there's an MIT study which showed that a person raising one child in Pittsburgh needs to earn minimally $17 an hour. To meet minimum living standards.
And theirs is like $11.50 or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story on UPMC, just having been in the hospital again.
Oh, yes, you're right.
What?
Right.
You're
in the belly of the beast all the time.
Wonderful medical care. But the funny thing is I went in through emergency, my doctor called emergency room, and then they put me in for a few days. Well, then it was funny because I was in a room with another roommate. And then, before my last night there, I was moved to a room. And at first I thought, because I do snore rather loudly. And I remember my roommate, I heard him grumbling to someone on the phone.
I would have strangled you in your sleep.
Yeah, well, anyway. So I thought, oh, God, he'd put up, a stink and whatever.
Well, sure.
But then I was removed to a private room.
Oh, all right.
Number one. Then number two, when they send you your meal and you say, I'll have this mush as opposed to that mush, at the bottom, when it's sort of checked off, it said above my name, VIP. And then I got a bouquet of flowers. And I thought, I really didn't tell many people.
Who ratted you out?
I don't know, but it was flowers from
Romoth.
No, well, from the CEO of the hospital.
That's
Shadyside
Romoth.
Hospital.
Oh,
no.
Shadyside.
And I thought,
Romoth's
I guess
minions.
VIP, given my,
Yes, your
notoriety of the past and maybe the present. But I thought, how bizarre.
So somebody said, that's Tom Sokolowski.
Treat him good or he'll give you shit or something.
Well, that bodes
was
well for me if I end up in the
my
hospital
God.
that they'll have to, give me a
I
private
know.
room, too.
But that was just so bizarre,
because
I thought.
you better treat her well because otherwise she's going to say terrible things about us.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but I mean, once again.
Yeah, but the food was just as crappy.
Well, food is crappy in every hospital. But no, the care, again, this was, before I was in Montefiore, but now Shadyside, but no, wonderful. Oh, yes, that's PJ just sent us something with a text, and that's a piece by blah, 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 blah. Cy Twombly, the American artist who died not long ago, who lived in Italy for much of his life and often quoted in his paintings texts from ancient authors.
Hang on, I'm getting some of
You're looking for
my
Andrew
Jacksons
Jackson's?
out. Because
she's about to make a political contribution.
PJ just
Who
said
is Lynn Cullen going to pay off
that
today?
15 inches is
Oh,
that.
Now, how do
And
you know
that's
that?
exactly what I did.
no, it isn't.
Jess, look. If anything, it's bigger than what I did. 16 inches.
That's about
15
what you
inches,
did.
excuse me.
No, it's
Huh?
not.
Yes, it is.
That's 15, I'm telling you.
No, but I'm saying that looks like what you did with your hand.
Exactly right. What do you know?
Well, I'm a class assistant at human.
Because PJ just said that 15
Yes.
inches is 2.5
Well, then-
bills.
All right, well, that's fact.
Okay, there we go. And what was 15? Oh, the letters. I can't even remember why we were
Yeah, why
doing
are we
this.
talking about this?
Why are we doing
I'm
this?
getting lost in the translation.
In minutia. Okay, stuff that damn Jackson right back into my...
That damn Jackson.
I'm going to take...
He actually had hair. I just was looking at it.
Well, his hair's
like
like-
Clinton.
Like Clinton, I think he looks like, Elvis Presley. He's got
Well,
a
that's
big
what this
pompadour.
musical-
Yeah.
Yeah.
This you can say for him. Jackson said that. Here's a quote from Jackson. Unless you become more watchful in your states and check the spirit of monopoly and thirst for exclusive privilege, you will in the end find that the control over your dearest interests has passed into the hands of the corporations. Geez, back in the early 19th century, we were being warned about that by the likes of this mass murderer. That's interesting. Okay, we have to take a break. That's clatting up. Oh gosh, the little eaglets are going to get rained on. The pirates are going to get rained on. Dang it. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Pittsburgh City Paper's Pirates Preview is available now. Pick up one today for a look at the Buccos as they head into the 2014 Big Aspirations. Plus, Cedric the Entertainer, La Boheme, Minios, and Les Zeppelin. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, your smartphone at citypapermobile.com, and on the iPhone App Store and Google Play.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right. What's next? Oh, Christoph Nicholas. Excuse me, Nicholas Christoph. Has a piece in which he talks about the this assessment that is called the Social Progress Index, and this is the brainchild of a Harvard professor, a business professor, who, by the way, is a Republican, and who, unlike most Republicans, realized that a nation's economic success has more to do with than just economics. It has to do with social issues. It has to do with how the rewards are distributed. It has to do. It's a much larger thing. So he figured out an index, the Social Progress Index, and. Well, guys, you know where the U.S. ranks on that with all the other nations of the world? We're 16th. We're supposed to be number one. We're 16th. And he says the reason that we underperform, because we are militarily the best. We got the largest economy. You would think we'd be number one. But no, it's because we do not take all that wealth and put it into our people's lives in a way that enriches them. So let's say that we underperform because our economic and military strength does not translate into well-being for the average citizen, for the very people that Bill Kristol and Antonin Scalia and all those others want to raise, the drawbridge against. We rank 70th in health, 69th in ecosystem sustainability, 39th in basic education, 34th in access to water and sanitation. You would think this would be some third world country. And 31st in personal safety. Even in access to cell phones and the internet, which is pretty much we invented. We're 23rd. Who's number one? It's a strange one, I think.
Sweden.
New Zealand.
Oh.
Huh. New Zealand, followed by Switzerland, followed by Iceland.
So little
followed
countries.
by the Netherlands.
Little countries.
Little countries.
Well, little countries and also countries that are
more homogeneous.
Exactly.
But they are poorer than America per capita. Yet, see, that's what you look at. They don't have as much for each of their citizens. But they use it.
I remember when I was in New York, this is sort of on the Netherlands, I had a friend who was the cultural attaché from the Netherlands. And he would always joke because he said, you Americans, when you want to go to Holland, you come and ask for money. When you want some Dutch cultural thing to come to America, you ask for money. But when we want something from your, cultural affairs thing as part of the State Department at that point, nada. And, but they, like for the arts, I think our budget for the NEA was something like $125 million. Theirs was $560 million for a country that's like, a 1/25th the size of the United States. But I think, it's interesting because with this new, to go back to the other Supreme Court decision, I mean, the things like on ecosystems, that's going to get worse because all these companies who don't want to do all the cleanups from fracking or the ozone layer, et cetera, the money's going to roll in. So the atmosphere is going to be totally, it's very interesting. There's this one trash show that I've sort of gotten interested in called The 100. It's on the CW channel, all those teenagers full of hormones and nastiness. But anyway, it's about the Earth in 20 whenever.
Oh, right, yes. You told us this before. Right, that's
but anyway,
right. That you're
and
into
so
this.
now the air on this ship is going down, so they're going to have to throw 100 people out the door every week in order to keep the oxygen. But anyway, these kids go to Earth, and of course the Earth, everything there is they see a butterfly, but it's poisonous and all that sort of thing. And, this dystopian image is going to become reality.
I don't know why people don't see that we have to address this, and instead, like somebody like the Supreme Court yesterday makes it worse.
Well, because we're only interested in ourselves and our moment. Like, my grandchildren. I don't give a shit about my grandchildren. Not that I'm going to have any, but I mean, our country seems to say, we don't care about the future. We don't care about our grandchildren or great-grandchildren. Where's mine right now?
Yeah. Christoph says, so here it is. This lack of shared prosperity and shared opportunity has stunted our economic growth and our social well-being and progress. And there it is. Anyone with eyes can see it. Even this Republican professor. How can he still be a Republican? I don't understand. He's probably he's an old kind of Republican.
Yes,
no doubt.
Exactly.
Okay, I have one more.
Fiscal Republican.
Yeah, I have. We have nothing to say about the mother killing that little boy. And
what do you say?
What do you say? Nothing. That's what I say too.
And we probably have more of this. You brought that up. I mean, sort of tangentially, but given those ratings, 16th. I mean, we have more of that kind of children, or Columbines than any other country.
We kill our children more than.
Violent, or just because of guns and this and the other. It's just, woo.
Yeah, and I got nothing to say about Fort Hood because, come on.
Yeah, right.
What? I happened to hear some congressperson saying that, the soldiers cannot carry weapons on base. And so he was arguing, if those soldiers had their weapons, well, this wouldn't have happened. So it's always, the answer always is
more guns.
More guns.
And then let them do, I'm still infuriated more than about the guns, about those two trials that, came about, their results simultaneously of, sexual molestation, first on the part of that top general, colonel, whatever he was, general.
He was a general.
And then the kid who was at, one of those academies. And both were let off.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure the kid did it. And number two, originally 3 guys were charged. You don't know. We don't want to become a mob where everybody accused is
No, but
guilty.
It seems like the military, those men defending us, are allowed any indiscretion.
Well,
because they are powerful, and the powerful need release, and the powerful need a larger berth.
It's funny, the jury of his peers that jury was made up of generals. And I was thinking when I complained that somebody like Jordan Miles, his jury of his peers was 8 white people.
Yeah, right.
And everybody said, well, that's considered a jury of your peers. Well, I think at least a general, having a bunch of generals, makes more sense than that is a jury of your peers.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
One of the funniest things about juries of peers that I recall is when I was a fledgling reporter in Madison, Wisconsin, covering state government there. The state attorney general was one Bronson LaFollette of the LaFollette.
Oh, the family.
Yeah, the progressive. The head fighting Bob LaFollette,
right.
Governor of Wisconsin when Wisconsin was the progressive state. Yeah. And Bronson LaFollette was a bit of a wacko, but he was the attorney general, and he had a dog, an Irish setter. I forget the dog's name, but the dog was forever getting loose.
I was saying, where are you going?
The dog was forever getting loose and winding up in the clutches of the law.
Yes.
And this became sort of a, amusing story that the Attorney General...
Where's Bucky now?
The Attorney General, his dog is flouting the law. He's flouting the law. But eventually, he retained the Attorney General as an attorney for his dog. A friend of mine, Edward Ben Elson, who was a very strange guy with a law degree and who also had a hot dog push cart.
That's an interesting mixture.
Oh God, he was so funny.
Did he give out law advice while he's
and he specialized in what his card said. Edward Ben Elson, attorney at law, specializing in loony law, and his job, he was always trying to get mentally ill people out of all kinds of situations. Hatched a plan to kidnap Rosemary Kennedy, the lobotomized Kennedy sister who lived near Madison.
Is she still alive?
No, she did die. But he knew her. He'd go there to St. Coletta's. That's the place she was at, St. Coletta's. And he would go there and he'd see Rosemary and he was thinking, I got to get her out of here. He was always trying to. So anyway, the Attorney General picks this character to represent his dog. And somehow this ends up only in Madison, Wisconsin, Mad City, ends up in a court of law. And Eddie Elson's first ploy was demanding that the dog have a jury of his peers of Irish setters. Well, apparently that didn't go anywhere. But here's what did. He did get the what do you call the dog control people? He did get the
ASPCA.
No, the people who kept arresting this animal.
Oh, I see.
When they were on the stand, he did bring in 3 Irish setters, including the culprit.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, is the culprit in the courtroom?
This sounds like Saturday Night Live skit.
Can you identify the dog in question?
Or what's my line?
Right, no. This thing, I mean, my memory is a little hazy on this, but this thing became the funniest, and it was meant to be. I mean, it was just everybody was willing to let this.
How can you bring an animal to trial? You can bring its owner to trial.
Its owner might have been to trial, yeah. So maybe the AG was, right. Yeah. But he made it about the dog. Yeah. It was very funny, and I can't remember the outcome. Anyway.
Well, that's, it's interesting, just to make a sort of sidebar to this. There's been a couple of articles in the last week or two about this notion of, in terms of, is the guilty party in the courtroom, how people's memories when they have a sketch artist, that can be so flawed.
There are a lot of people on death row because of eyewitness accounts who are innocent as all get out. And I'm sure we killed a number of them, too.
Oh, sure.
All right, so why does this ever happen to me? I'm working in a car factory.
Yes.
And on some weekend, I go to the railroad has a regular auction, sort of like the, I guess they do that around here, where they have a lost and found.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then they say, hey, we're going to get rid of all this stuff, so we're going to auction it off.
150 toasters.
Yes, exactly. So this guy goes, and there's 2 paintings there, and he gets them. And he hangs them in his kitchen. And there they hung for 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they turn out to be a Gauguin worth as much as $48 million. Mm-hmm. And a Bonnard?
Bonnard, yes.
Bonnard, worth about $2 million.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that ever happen to anybody I know, huh? So They were left on a train.
Construction Junction.
They were left on a train, so they did find
probably
that
by a Nazi or something.
No, these two paintings were stolen from some rich London people. In 1970.
Oh, so recently.
1970. That's not recently.
Well, I mean, I thought you were going to say pre-war, pre-Second World War or something.
Okay, but these are some rich people, and they did report these two things stolen, but they simply disappeared. But in 75, they end up in this auction at so whoever stole them somehow had to ditch them or got whatever, and this guy... So they know who they did belong to, but those two people are now dead.
Oh. Okay.
It's... a guy named Michael Marks and Matilda Marks, and they were philanthropists, and he was the founder of Marks and Spencer, which is a department store.
Yeah, one of the big stores.
And so they're saying now that they left no heirs. They're not sure that they can identify an heir. And if they don't identify an heir, this little guy who worked in the Fiat plant is going to be able to keep them.
You can buy Fiat.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
I bet they'll find someone's going to pop up who's distantly related, for sure. But for now, the poor little guy does not have them. The police have the paintings, and they so far can't find the heirs.
I don't think they could give them to a cousin. I mean, in the sense of like if you. Yes, your son or something like that.
You don't think they'd keep looking for...
I don't think they can go that far.
Oh, really?
Back.
It has to be a direct line?
I think so.
Well, they say it is... okay, so the people... One is an American.
You mean some legatee?
No, Matilda Marks... is the daughter of the founder of Marks and Spencer. She married an American, Terrence Kennedy. She married him late in life. Neither is alive. So it's going to be some Irish relative in
County Cork.
Well, so this is what... So what do you think happens? I happened to have Antiques Roadshow on the other day, and somebody brings in this little thing. And it turns out to be worth $80,000.
Right.
And it's a little thing that they've just had sitting on their table forever. Cost them $2.
Right.
Do you think most of the people who then hear that these things are worth that much, then do they keep them or do they sell them? To insure them would be too. What do you think most people do once they realize,
I would say
gewgaw.
I would say probably when it's not that kind of Brobdingnagian figure, they probably say, we'll love it, But I think when it's something like that, when it's such a huge amount, they probably sell it because I can't believe that some little tchotchke is so beloved by the family that they want to keep it.
So to them, it would just be this extraordinary windfall.
Good luck, windfall,
But let's say you love it because it came down to you from your mother, and then if there's sentimental value, and then it turns out it's worth $150,000.
Well, so then it's like the mother gave me a gift that keeps on giving, You
sell it, huh? Wow.
Well, because then you'd be...
you'd be a nervous wreck all the time that somebody was going to steal
it. And probably chances are people would. I mean, if it was in some little old, country house in Alabama, the idea of breaking in and getting that tchotchke is very likely.
Well, okay. Meanwhile, none of my tchotchkes are going to bring in anything. I don't think. I think we're out of... time. What happened? We're out of time. Thank you for...
Life is what happens while you're doing other things.
Who said that?
Some people say it was John Lennon.
I think it was John Lennon.
Other people said it was Donovan.
I think it was John Lennon.
Well, okay.
Life is what happens when you're busy doing other things, or something like that. Which, there is truth in that. And I shall end on this wonderful quote from yesterday again.
Which quote?
Live each day like it may be your last, and learn each day like you will live forever.
And who spake?
Don't have a clue.
Oh.
I suppose we could look it up, but I just think that is a good...
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's a good recipe for living, I think. So take it to heart. They're going to get rained out today. Somebody give an eagle an umbrella. And I'll be here tomorrow, and I would hope Mr. Potter will be joining us. Tom will not be here next week. He has already told us he's doing some really wonderful R&R in Gotham City. And
yes, of sorts. R&D.
Oh, R&D, not R&R. I meant R&D. Whatever. So enjoy your day. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.